5 ticks. You see them here. We live in a state full of them, but it's so important to remind ourselves what ticks to be on the lookout for, especially those really, really small ones carrying Lyme disease. The black leg tick, also known as the deer tick, is, as you can see, incredibly small, the size of about a sesame seed. And in the state of Minnesota, we're used to them. And the Minnesota Department of Health says the majority of us are actually living in high to moderate areas where we have tick-borne illnesses and tick-borne diseases. And with our much warmer climate, take a look at this. This is reported cases of Lyme disease. Year after year, they continue to go up. I actually talked with a local woman who has Lyme disease with more.
The Lyme ticks don't look at the calendar, they look at the weather. And they've gotten started early this year because it was so warm. They come out as soon as they can survive.
It's no secret, if you grew up around Minnesota, ticks are a known nuisance.
Get medical attention promptly.
Dr. Frank Rame is an infectious disease physician with Allina Health and says deer ticks are the ones to watch for.
It's an odd thing about the infection. The tick has to be on you for about 24 hours at least, sometimes longer, before it can infect you.
The deer tick may be small, but its bite is mighty. Dr. Rame says if it's infected with Lyme disease and passes that on to you, you have to act fast, especially if you see the telltale bullseye rash on your body.
So it's the most characteristic thing. About 80% of people who have Lyme disease get that rash. So it's not always the case. Sometimes people just feel crummy and have lymph node swelling and achiness in their joints.
People like Miriam Trampagnier, a native from Quebec, Canada, not as familiar with deer ticks carrying Lyme disease, growing up in a colder climate, found out too late.
I think I was infected about 10 months ago in the summer of 2023 while I was canoe camping in the Minnesota boundary waters. I never saw the traditional bullseye tick mark ever on me. I actually had no idea I was infected up until January 2024. That's when my joints, particularly my knee, started to get really sore and swollen for no reason.
Miriam, who is typically active, a former D1 women's hockey player and crashed ice all-star, suddenly sidelined.
Some people might get completely paralyzed on one side of their face for months on end. Others, it's more neurological. They'll have memory loss or extreme fatigue. How it often shows itself is through Lyme arthritis, which is what is affecting me. It's sudden and very painful joint swelling and unable to walk. I've had to use crutches 3 different times because I was not able to walk since January, so it's pretty debilitating.
Miriam, having to use crutches on occasion, now has to inject herself with antibiotics through an IV at home, with weekly doctor visits, hoping to see improvements after a month.
Don't be scared to play outdoors, but just be aware that this is something that could happen to you. Definitely didn't think it would happen to me, but it did, and it's pretty painful and debilitating.
And we, of course, thank Miriam for spreading awareness, sharing her story. We do have more of the symptoms to look out for in this story, which will be posted at KARE11.com. All right.